Are it the names or the mindset that are dismembering the body of our people and nation? An article addressed to the youth, my generation, with love. Athrakato, Alkosh, Nineveh Plain. At the outset, I would like to clarify to the esteemed reader, and to the beloved members of my people across the vast corners of the world, that these lines are more of a distress call than an explanatory article for casual reading. Therefore, I hope they are understood in the correct spirit, so that we may awaken and break the axe that is severing the tree of our unity, for the roots of our national family tree are one. These words speak about the national unity of our people and are not related in any way to religious or sectarian matters. So, I sincerely hope I won't end up reading comments like, "We are Christians and that's it," or similar. Yes, we are Christians and we are proud of that. But let us place each matter in its proper context, for every issue has its own topic, status, and cause. These words are addressed primarily to young readers. Throughout my experience, still very short in the field of national activism and not exceeding 15 years, I've met a significant number of our people. From Baghdad, ascending to Kirkuk, Erbil, Nineveh and its plains, Dohuk, to Turkey, Armenia, Germany, and the diaspora in the Western world via communication platforms, I've reached a firm conclusion: what divides us is our mindset, not the names, although this division stems from deeply rooted historical events. Today, however, these names have become tools of division. I'll explain this from my own perspective, not as a historian, but as someone trying to convey what I believe based on evidence and logic, a logical proof that we are one people. If we turn back to the 19th century, 1800 to 1900, we find that the concept of nationalism, as developed at that time, though historically present, was defined based on 5 pillars, called the elements of nationalism: 1. Shared land, 2. Shared language, 3. Shared history, 4. Shared customs and traditions, and 5. Shared destiny. Any group possessing these characteristics is considered one nation, distinct from other nations with similar traits. Let's reflect, even briefly, on each of these elements in our own context. Shared land. All historical and genetic evidence confirms that the land of Mesopotamia was home to an indigenous people who founded civilization there, arguably the first in the world, and who still reside there today, despite some demographic changes. From Tur Abdin, southeast Turkey, to southern Iraq, and from northern Iran in the east to northern Syria in the west, our people have historically inhabited these lands. Regardless of what name a subgroup uses for itself, this shows that the land is unified among these people. Shared language. This is my area of expertise, so I ask your patience for delving into it more deeply, especially since it's often misused by those unfamiliar with the language as a point of division rather than unity. If we examine books written in our language, ancient and modern, scientific, literary, ecclesiastical, we will find exactly 22 original letters, characters, and no more. We also have 3 distinct scripts used to write them: Estrangelo, Eastern, and Western. These are merely visual styles of writing, like Kufi, Nask, or Thulith in Arabic, or uppercase and lowercase in English. Estrangelo resembles capital letters, the Eastern script resembles lowercase, and the Western script resembles cursive handwriting. As for grammar, it is unified in the formal language across all regions: verbs, nouns, particles, etc. Anyone can visit a nearby church to see this firsthand. Dialects, however, vary. But if we trace the origin of a word in any dialect, we'll find it derives from the same formal root. For instance, Beta, Baya, Beta, and Besha all stem from the root Beta, house, pronunciation, and vowels. There are 7 vowel signs, which were later merged into 5 for linguistic development, e.g., Zlamashika plus Zlamakasha equals Rubuo, Wa plus Wa equals Awoso. The division into Eastern and Western dialects came from geographic separation and lack of communication across regions. Dialects. All ancient languages have dialects. Just like Arabic has Syrian, Iraqi, and Egyptian dialects, and even regional ones within the same country, so too does our language. The differences are mostly in pronunciation, especially in vowel elongation, skapa. To the unfamiliar listener, this may give the illusion that the dialects are entirely different languages, when in fact they are not. The problem is our ignorance of the formal language, Sapreya, Thabanaya, which is a result of centuries of oppression, social, political, and religious. Shared history. The history of Mesopotamia is one and the same, supported by academic and archaeological evidence. From the Akkadian to Babylonian and Assyrian periods, all share much more in common than not. We feel instinctively connected to this history. Unified national stances have often been shared across our regions. What differences we perceive today are largely a result of historical distortions by dictatorial, sectarian regimes, Arab, Ottoman, and now Kurdish. Shared customs and traditions. Many of our cultural practices remain shared, in celebrations and in mourning. For example, traditional weddings and dance, kega, may show slight differences due to neighboring influences, but fundamentally remain the same. Shared destiny. Destiny means the final outcome for a group, no matter where they are. For our people, events in one area have always impacted others. A prime example is the ISIS invasion of our historic lands. It didn't target Syriac, Chaldean, or Assyrian Christians individually, but all of us collectively. If Iraq were emptied of our people, even a large remaining town like Baghdad, Karakash, would not survive alone. The fate of one is the fate of all. Thus, the 5 elements of nationalism clearly and unequivocally prove we are one people, not just religiously, but nationally. We have one land, one language, one history, one destiny, and one culture. So where is the division, other than what is sown by those who benefit from dividing us? As the saying goes, divide and conquer. Back to the main point. The current division over names is not the original cause, it's a consequence that has become a justification for more division. Historically, this began centuries ago, often driven by church or tribal leadership struggles for power. Today, it has devolved into regional and village rivalries. But sect, tribe, or town do not constitute a nation. No group on earth lives entirely in one village, nor does internal religious diversity negate national unity. We feel this emotionally. When harm befalls any of our regions, we feel it personally, though to varying degrees. This emotional bond is a strength we can activate to further national unity. A real-life example. Years ago, there were serious regional tensions between Al-Qash and Tezcopa. Disputes would sometimes escalate to fights. But after ISIS displaced the people of Tezcopa and they lived temporarily in Al-Qash, the youth of both towns saw they were the same. This led to strong social ties. The issue was never lack of unity, we are one people. What we need is a change in thinking. The solution. Based on all this, we don't need efforts at unification, we need a change in mindset. If people are united in thought, no one can divide them. There is no logical reason to think we are different peoples. We must assess ideas, not names. If a news headline says assault on Syriac Al-Qash, is the name more important than the assault itself? If this news helps stop the attack, does it matter what name was used? Likewise, if false claims are made about Baghdad, I, as a member of this nation, should reject it regardless of whether the name used is Syriac, Chaldean, or Assyrian. If someone praises Nala village, I take pride in that, it's one of our villages, no matter what name they use. However, if someone calls one of our towns Arab or Kurdish, e.g., Kurdish Tezcopa, then yes, that's unacceptable. Not out of racism, but because such names alter the national identity of our lands and risk the same demographic erasure we've seen in Iraq, Iran, Turkey, and Syria. A personal incident. Before ISIS invaded the Nineveh plains, I was in Germany. The night ISIS entered our lands, some of our diaspora tried hard to raise awareness. One European news outlet ran a headline, "For the first time in thousands of years, Nineveh plains emptied of Assyrians." That headline came only after great effort from activists, since media attention was focused on Gaza. The next day, the channel received dozens of emails, not of support, but angry messages from, "Forgive me," a backward group of our own people, furious over the use of the word Assyrians. Can you imagine? They didn't lift a finger to help our people under threat from ISIS, but they rushed to protest a name they didn't like. Conclusion. What our people face today threatens our very existence, nationally, and thus also religiously. The bond between a people and their land is national, not religious. One can practice Christianity anywhere, but cannot preserve one's national identity in foreign lands, because over time, integration leads to national dissolution. So why not just say Christian, as some suggest? This oversimplifies the problem and reflects ignorance of what truly sustains our existence. Yes, we are proud Christians, but we are also a people of civilization and history. We are the ones who wrote the history of the world, built cities, science, and knowledge long before others emerged from their caves. Every nation has 2 identities, one religious, one national. These don't contradict each other. Even as religion declines in some societies, national identity remains because it preserves what you are, what your ancestors lived, and shapes your people's future on your land. Religious identity alone is not enough. We must affirm both, especially in the Middle East, where they complement each other. Limiting ourselves to the religious label has allowed others to define us as Arab Christians or Kurdish Christians. With all due respect to these nations, our history and legacy are far greater in this land. It is unreasonable to accept any label that detaches us from our ancestral identity. Sorry for the lengthy explanation, but this is a complex matter with many branches. I tried to minimize the word count as much as possible, and what I wrote above is a summary. In the end, I want to reaffirm that what divides us is not the names themselves, but how we choose to accept or reject these names. We must stand united in one trench and recognize who the true enemy of our people is, and stop them in their tracks, for the sake of the freedom and dignity of future generations. As long as we remain focused on names rather than substance, there will never come a day when we are able to stop our real enemy from continuing their aggression against our people. With my warmest regards. Afra Cato. Al-Qash, Nineveh Plain, September 19, 2018.